Hey guys, Bowie here, and today we're gonna talk about Tiny. This bad boy is to 727C what Quap was before 727. This hero can be played in multiple lanes, loses almost none of them, and has different but effective ways to build, allowing him to adapt to almost any scenario. Before we start this video though, just want to remind you guys that making videos like this requires me to look for a lot of replays, so at the end of the video, if you learn something new, make sure to like, subscribe, and send this video to other friends so that more people can benefit from this. The item build Topson goes for, in my opinion, is the best one available. By grabbing the early circlets and branches, you are mitigating two of Tiny's biggest weaknesses. No attack speed whatsoever, which can lead to missing dumb blast hits and just harassing less, and mana that allows you to also harass and get some CS. The skill build is also a little different from last patch. He goes 0, 2, and 1 at level 3. Not only toss is a much lower cooldown early on, but it also costs less mana, allowing Topson to reliably get range creeps throughout his laning stage. Watch how Topson always gets the range creep with toss, and at the same time, he deals damage to the Shadow Fiend. By getting toss early on, you can also set up toss back plays against bad opponents. In this case, even though Shadow Fiend didn't let himself get tossed, it means he needs to respect and play much safer than a Shadow Fiend would usually play against a melee hero. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. See how the range creep's about to die? Usually, Shadow Fiend wouldn't actually care about staying there and trying to get the deny because he has a lot of damage, but by moving towards the Shadow Fiend, he's now a little afraid that he can be tossed into the range creep and take a lot of tower damage. And that's why he has to back, and then Topson doesn't have to spend mana to get this one. This means he can save a little bit of mana, and once he gets level 5, you can start doing a lot of damage with the Avalanche Toss combo. One thing a lot of people forget about Tiny is the fact that his cleave works through towers, kinda like Dragon Knight. So when you're sieging, you don't need to worry about dealing with the creeps, just attack the tower from an angle that hits them when you can to maximize the damage you're dealing. The circlets that Topson usually buys becomes one Bracer and a Wraith Band. And the reason for the ban is that attack speed isn't something easy to get with the items you're usually going to get for Tiny. So you're maximizing a slot you already had whilst getting some extra armor, which is never bad on a hero with so much HP. Even though you get a lot of armor when your ult is level 3, it takes a while to get there. When Topson rotates on the Darkseer, know that he uses Avalanche and then tosses immediately. The damage Avalanche deals when someone is in the air is 3 times higher, and so this is the most efficient way to do damage early on. This is also why Topson maxes Avalanche and Toss before Tree Grab, even though his build is a right-click build. With no attack speed, you cannot farm fast enough to compensate for all of the kills you can get in the early game, and the fact that Avalanche and Toss have really low cooldowns, allowing you to farm way faster than if you were using Tree Grab anyways. The first big item Topson gets always is related to Silver Edge. Shadow Blade if he's against a really hard to catch hero like an Anti-Mage, a Quap, or Echo Saber. Echo Saber gives great wave clear, mana regen, and burst damage in fights. Watch how much extra damage Echo Saber outputs here. Before I show this fight though, I think there's another concept about Tiny that needs to be explained. When you use your Tree Toss, you have 150% cleave, which is the same amount Kanka has, meaning you're always gonna do less damage to the actual hero that you throw the tree. So we're gonna see that in this fight, Topson actually tosses the tree in the hero that is not dying, but it's also close enough for the AoE. Remember that when you're trying to burst down targets, if the target you want to kill is nearby someone else, it's always better to attack that person or to throw the tree into that person. Following the same logic we just talked about, when you have only one charge of Tree Grab with you, it's much better to actually throw it at a creep wave than attacking, because the cleave when you attack normally is much lower, meaning you're gonna do less overall damage to a creep wave than if you throw it. At the end of the day, the reason Tiny is really strong again isn't the right click damage itself, although now that right click Tiny is good, you scale better. But the bread and butter of this hero is still being able to burst people. Watch how the support Void Spirit dies in a second here. Because you can do this so often, you get to the point where your damage items start scaling, and your playstyle in the mid game is still much more about this than right clicks. But once you get a couple of items, you actually siege decently, and with eggs you have another great power spike, and we're going to talk about it in just a second. Just as an experiment, I decided to create a lobby and see how much damage Topson was doing. So I gave a Tiny the same items that he had, created a Void Spirit, I gave him 2 HP boosters, and without a tree, he's doing about 1400 damage with the combo and the Echo Saber. But if we get a tree, and on top of the 2 attacks from the Echo Saber, we also throw the tree afterwards, you're doing about 1600 damage after reductions. That's crazy. A lot of cores at this stage don't have that much HP. That's why Echo Saber is so core on Tiny right now, because not only you're getting the 2 attacks and you have like crazy extra damage when you get the tree. I'm not sure if people know about this, but you get 25% more damage when you're attacking with that. A big problem Tiny faces though is being able to actually right click in this meta of a lot of bash heroes or just a lot of burst damage in general. So you could spend 4000 gold and get a BKB, and that would allow you to attack, but your attack speed at this stage isn't really top tier. That is why people go for Aghanim Scepter. It allows you to show up, burst someone down, and when Avalanche and Toss are getting back, you can use your 3-throw to still be able to contribute in teamfights. Watch how, even though they actually kill Shadowfin here, it's just really hard for Topson to stand up and fight, even though he is ridiculously more farmed than everyone else inside of Radiant. Aghanim Scepter also helps you solve your mana problems, gives you a little bit more agility, and as you get more damage items, it just scales incredibly well. You don't need a BKB, you can be anywhere that has a tree and still do a ton of damage. Because you barely have to show to do so much damage, Aghanim Scepter becomes really good once you get to mid and late game, because it's a very low risk, high reward type of ability. That said though, your combo is still really strong, especially against Mask of Madness builders or carries that don't have a lot of armor. Once you get Ags and you're about level 20, you get enough attack speed so that you can attack twice, Avalanche Toss, still get an attack mid-toss, and throw the 3 at the end, which is an obnoxious, ridiculous amount of damage, and even this very farmed Void just falls prey to Topson. That being said, your hero can get kited, your hero is really slow, and can't really man fight against a lot of the meta heroes. So once your Eva combo is used, watch how Topson always looks for juke spots or crannies where he can use the Aghanim Scepter active without showing. This is really important and allows him to live through fights and get many more combos and get a lot of kills. In case you're playing versus a Tiny though, here's a tip to prevent something that happened with this Lich. He buys back as soon as he dies, and he ends up in the fight, because if you buy back when you're being tossed, you're gonna go back to that location. In cases where you want to go back to the fight, you know, that's also a tip that you can use, but usually that's not the case, and Lich dies back because he ends up being hasty and probably didn't know about this interaction. This is a pretty standard way of how an Aghanim Scepter Tiny plays the late game. He shows up, he kills Faceless Void, and with Eva Toss on cooldown, he finds a way to use his Aghanim Scepter active. You don't want to be showing, you don't want to be right-clicking people unless there's only 1 or 2 heroes left alive. And this is why Ags is so good. It makes up for the fact that you can't really man-fight a lot of other heroes. But at the same time, it's incredible physical damage and involves pretty much no risk.
This guy plays so stupid, dude. Actually so stupid. That was a duel, by the way, but he doesn't want to press it. Now he's scared of pressing it.
Hey guys, do you feel like Arteezy playing Dota sometimes? Even pro players feel like that all the time, and the way they are able to win so many games, besides the fact that they're really good, is knowing when to pick every hero. Dota is an ever-changing game, and I'm here to help you with that. If you join my Meta Aficionado tier on Patreon, you will get a 20-minute video analysis of the patch weekly, as well as a 20-page PDF file that's gonna have the best heroes for every position. I'm also updating the list whether there's a patch going or whether the meta evolves naturally. This is a great way to get MMR because it will help you filtering the amount of heroes you have to pick. So not only you're gonna learn those heroes faster, but you're going to be playing the best heroes available right now. Guys, thank you all for watching, commenting, and subscribing. In case there is something here that you do not agree, or maybe you wanted me to address this subject in a different way, please make sure to leave it in the comments. If you want a more premium experience than my weekly meta guides, you can DM me on Twitter to get the rates for my coaching. In case you just got back to Dota because of the compendium or COVID-19, you can check our Discord server. There's a lot of cool people there. Maybe if you're afraid of playing Dota by yourself, you can find someone from your server to, make your Dota experience a little better. Finally, if you want to see me stream or cast, you can follow me on Twitch. I have some big plans for streaming soon, so, it's cool that you already follow me there because you're gonna know when it starts. And finally, if you didn't care about the meta guides but you still want to help with the channel, after all, making these videos require a ton of effort, you can check the other tiers there and see if any of them interest you. Thank you a lot, have a good one, and bye guys.